That's the Nile, ripping straight through the dead heart of the Sahara Desert. They're carving a new river by hand before the desert swallows them alive. That concrete fortress has no roads. It exists purely to pump an entire lake into a wasteland. And when a granite mountain got in the way, they blew it off the map. It's 3 a.m. They only pour concrete in the dark. The heat demands it. Last year, this was dead sand. Today, green wheat in the Sahara. How? This is Egypt's second Nile, the most impossible megaproject on the planet.
Carving a path through the endless desert.
If you want more megaprojects like this, subscribe now. You don't want to miss what's coming. 104 million Egyptians live packed into a green strip just 4% of their country's size. And it's shrinking. Cairo is so crowded that 1,000 square meters of farmland vanish under concrete every single hour. This is the most fertile soil on Earth. And right behind me, it's disappearing. Meanwhile, Lake Nasser holds 168 billion cubic meters of water. Most of it just flows to the sea, unused. The plan, steal water from Lake Nasser and carry it 310 kilometers into the Sahara. January 9th, 1997. President Mubarak drives a shovel into the sand. They call it Egypt's new Nile. 310 kilometers of desert, marked first by wooden stakes, every meter measured by hand. Then the trucks roll in. 310 kilometers of Sahara is about to be cut open. They build the world's largest pumping station foundation, inside a lake, on water. Steel piles driven down, the lake pumped out, and suddenly dry ground sits in the middle of Lake Nasser. They blast a 50-meter deep intake channel through solid limestone, the deepest inland intake ever built. Foundation caissons drilled 15 meters into sandstone in 50 degrees Celsius heat at the bottom of a lake. A 50-meter concrete fortress rises from the lake bed to hold back 168 billion cubic meters of water. 24 pump shafts are bored through its floor, each one 3 meters wide, 30 meters deep. 18 run every single day, no breaks. 35-ton pumps are shipped in from Japan, 4 meters tall, lowered by barge and guided down by hand at 1 meter per minute. Powering it all, 288 megawatts routed in from Aswan, 250 kilometers away. Enough electricity to run an entire city, just for pumping. 24 colossal steel pumps sit lined up like dormant jet engines, inside a building surrounded entirely by lake, with nothing connecting it to shore. Then the cofferdam comes out. The lake floods back in. The pumping station becomes an island. March 2005. The first pump switches on. Water climbs 50 meters through solid rock, and it actually works. When the first water hit the canal, I cried. I genuinely cried. The canal itself, 54 meters wide, stretching endlessly in both directions. Right now, 2,000 machines are cutting it through the Sahara. Dump trucks the size of houses, running the largest excavation fleet ever assembled. It never stops. Every night the sand walls slump, and every morning the crew starts over. Then a granite mountain blocks the path, 9 kilometers of solid rock, no way around it. 45,000 kilograms of explosives go in. The biggest blast in Egyptian history. It rips through 40 meters of rock, the shock wave reaching 20 kilometers away, and blacks out the sun. Drill, blast, load, haul, repeat. 1 million cubic meters of granite cleared in 9 months. Ground temperatures hit 70 degrees Celsius. Hydraulic fluid boils, equipment seals split. In summer, they only dig at night, 38 degrees at 3 a.m., with excavators still running under floodlights. It never stops. Then a haboob hits without warning, a 300-meter wall of sand moving at 80 kilometers per hour. Everything stops, machines vanish. 2 meters of new sand bury the site overnight. They resurvey by GPS, re-establish the canal line, and dig again. 10,000 workers live and work 400 kilometers from the nearest city, resupplied by truck through open desert every day. From above, the excavation berms look like a second mountain range through the Sahara. They're not. Then ancient aquifer water floods into the cut faster than pumps can clear it. Toxic with salt, and if it mixes with the fresh Nile water, everything downstream dies. The fix? A clay cut-off wall sealed with bentonite cement, sunk 25 meters deep. Salinity drops to zero. 80 million cubic meters of spoil get removed and reused to build the access roads. The desert starts building itself. Concrete batching plants are set up every 15 kilometers. The canal is too long for a single plant to feed. Slip-form machines pour continuous concrete at 2 meters per minute, non-stop, down all 310 kilometers. In 50-degree heat, fresh concrete can crack within hours if unprotected. The sun flash boils the moisture right out of it. A single meter of cracked concrete gets torn out and redone. Zero margin for error. Past the main line, the canal splits into 4 branch arteries. Another 88 kilometers of concrete forced into dead sand. 800-meter circles of leveled desert are prepped for crops before a drop of water arrives. 320 kilometers of buried pipeline, wide enough to walk through, get welded together as the desert's new circulatory system. Center pivot irrigators are installed, each arm 400 meters long, 40 nozzles rotating automatically to water 50 hectares in a perfect circle. 3 booster stations, spaced every 60 kilometers, keep pressure up along the whole line, drawing on a power grid built straight through the dunes. At one point, a pivot's wheels sink 40 centimeters into wet clay, and the 400-meter steel arm tilts and locks solid. The fix? Double-width tires, doubling the contact area to spread the weight. Problem solved. The arm rotates again. 400 kilometers of desert roads are built before the water even arrives. Infrastructure always comes first. The sand itself is dead. No nutrients, no structure. Bulldozers rip the hard pan to 60 centimeters, and workers force tons of rich black soil into every hectare. Trial plots run on temporary pumps ahead of the main canal, just to learn what will actually grow. The proof comes fast. Golden wheat, harvested straight out of the Sahara. The gamble works. Everything is ready. The canal sits empty, and the switch is about to flip. When the water comes here, I do not want to be in this canal. It comes very fast. Lake Nasser water rises through the intake channel, wetting 50-meter limestone walls for the first time. A wall of churning white water blasts out of the tunnels, moving at 1.5 meters per second and creating its own weather. All 18 pumps fire at once, not a river, but a deafening waterfall forcing its way west. Some of the workers watching have been on this project for 3 years. Blue water in the Sahara, visible from the air for the first time in recorded history. Water reaches the first pivot. The arm begins turning. The first sprinkler opens. The sand darkens. The desert has changed. 18 pivots turn at once. The desert is wet. Nothing grows yet. The real test is still ahead. Grain drills plant wheat into sand that was pure desert 6 months earlier. Miss the planting window and the Sahara burns the seeds alive. Zero margin for error. 10 days later, green shoots in the Sahara. A wheat root pulled from ground that was dead sand half a year ago. Then white salt crystals appear between the rows. Irrigation water evaporating before it soaks in, pulling ancient toxic salt to the surface and choking the crops. The fix is brutal. Rip the earth open, bury the water deeper underground, starve the salt out soon. Waist-high wheat under the pivot arms, green inside the circle, dead Sahara just 400 meters outside it. First harvest, 5.2 tons per hectare, against a Nile Valley benchmark of 5.5. This grain came out of desert sand that 6 months earlier was nothing. More crops follow. Egyptian long staple cotton, the most valuable cotton in the world, now growing in the desert at 800 grams per plant, commercially viable. Sugar beet, thriving in the Sahara, and 50,000 date palms planted along the canal, cutting field evaporation by 15%. The Sahara is growing a forest. The water table rises fast. from 8 meters down to just 2.5 meters in only 14 months, threatening to drown the roots from below. The fix: tile drains sunk 1.8 meters deep, intercepting the rising water and pumping it back into the canal. They didn't just grow crops, they forcibly engineered dead sand into thick, living black earth. And despite pumping billions of gallons into the desert, the mighty Nile barely drops an inch. A new city rises 30 kilometers from the canal, built for 2 million people, before a single resident has moved in. A 4-lane highway cuts 180 kilometers through the Sahara, with road signs already pointing to cities still under construction. 5 years in, satellite images confirmed by NASA show green spreading across the desert. The desert is changing. 250 kilometers of canal are done. 60 kilometers remain, and the hardest terrain is still ahead. 360 cubic meters of Nile water move through it every second, enough to lift the volume of the Great Pyramid every 90 seconds, continuously. This isn't a stream, it's a rushing river generating its own wind. Massive steel gates slice it in two with brute mechanical force. 130 kilometers out, Nile water reaches desert that has never seen a river. Within 3 months, birds, bees, foxes, life following the water west uninvited. 400,000 tons of wheat from land that produced nothing a year earlier. Hand-picked Egyptian long staple cotton, white bowls against black soil, growing in the desert in May. And 4,000 tons of dates. 4 years after 50,000 trees went into the ground, the desert is producing. That was the vision taking shape. But back here in the present, they're still digging. If this blew your mind, hit subscribe. The next mega project is even bigger.